December 14, 2014, from Ralph Wilson Stadium in Buffalo, New York. It was the Green Bay Packers at the Buffalo Bills. The Packers won the toss. They elected to receive. They would start off with the ball on their own 20. Eddie Lacy ran for 12 yards in the first down that brought the ball to the 32. But their drive would end up stalling on the 35, and after 4 plays, they would punt. And so now the Buffalo Bills would take over for the first time in this game with a little over 13 minutes still on the clock in the first, and the ball on their own 26. They're faced with a 2nd and 3 from the 33, and Fred Jackson picked up 4 yards in the first down to bring it to the 37. But then on 3rd and 1 from the 46, Jackson lost a yard as A.J. Hawk and HaHa Clinton Dix were there for the stop. And so now the Buffalo Bills would have to punt after 5 plays, and this was at the 45. So now the Packers would get the ball back for the second time in this game as they would take over with still a little over 10 minutes left in the first, and the ball on their own 14. They were unable to pick up a first down, and they would end up punting after 3 plays as they went 3 and out. And so now the Buffalo Bills would take over with about 9.5 minutes left still in the first. They had it at midfield at the Green Bay 48, but they would end up going 3 and out as well, and they would punt the ball from their own 43 to the Packers, who now took over with less than 8 minutes left in the first and the ball on their own 20. Then on 3rd and 8 from the 22, Aaron Rodgers scrambled for the first down with a 19-yard run, and a defensive holding penalty as well would now make it first down on the Green Bay 46 for the Packers. They would then be faced with a 3rd and 1. This was after a neutral zone infraction on 3rd and 6. But on 3rd and 1 from the 45, James Starks ran for 12 yards in the first down that brought the ball to the Buffalo 33 for Green Bay. They were then faced with a 3rd and 4, and an incomplete pass would bring out the punting unit as Mason Crosby would attempt a 45-yard field goal. It was up. It was good as the Packers put the first points on the scoreboard with the score now Green Bay 3, Buffalo 0. So now the Buffalo Bills with the ball for the first. The Buffalo Bills with the ball with 4.5 minutes left in the first. They had on their own 26. And on first down, Kyle Orton was sacked by going for an 8-yard loss. And then they would end up going 3 and out. So now the Packers would get the ball back with 3.5 minutes on the clock in the first. They had it on their own 39. But they would end up going 3 and out, and they would punt the ball from the 44, and on the punt, Thigpen runs it back 75 yards all the way to the end zone. Marcus Thigpen, punt return for a touchdown, putting Buffalo on the scoreboard with the special teams touchdown, as it was now Buffalo 7, Green Bay 3. So the Bills in the lead by 4. The Packers now got the ball with 2 minutes left in the first. They had it on their own 20. Eddie Lacy ran for 15 yards, and then he ran for another 17 yards, and then he ran for 22 yards. So Eddie Lacy just running wild, and it was now a first down on the 26 of Buffalo for the Packers. They then would end up getting some penalties. It was offsides against the Buffalo Bills, and then a 7-yard pass from Rodgers to Nelson, and then a 2-yard run by Eddie Lacy in the first quarter came to a close. So after 1 quarter of play, the score was Buffalo 7, Green Bay 3. So now to open up the second quarter, Buffalo would be faced against the Packers, where they had it on the Buffalo 12, and it was 2nd and 8 for Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers then hit Randall Cobb for an 11-yard reception. It was now a first down, 1st and goal for Green Bay, and Eddie Lacy punched it in from a yard out to give the Packers back the lead by 3 with the score Green Bay 10, Buffalo 7. So now the Bills get the ball with about 14 minutes left before halftime. They had it on their own 20 to start the possession. And on 2nd and 7 from the 23, Kyle Orton went to Sammy Watkins. He picked up 28 yards in the first down that brought the ball to the Green Bay 49. Then Brown ran for 12 yards in the first down that brought the ball to the Green Bay 37. Kyle Orton then went to Robert Woods for an 18-yard reception that made a first down in the red zone on the Green Bay 19, but a false start would bring them back to the 24. They're then faced with a 2nd and 9 from the 18, and Kyle Orton went to the tight end Scott Chandler for a 10-yard reception and a first down at the 8. So it's now 1st and goal on the 8-yard line. but then a holding penalty against the offense would make it 1st and goal on the 18. Fred Jackson then lost 5 yards, and now 2nd and goal on the 23. So then, after a couple of penalties, it would end up with a 4-yard pass, and then we'd have 3rd and 14. Orton then went to Dixon for a 5-yard pass, and out would come Dan Carpenter to attempt a 27-yard field goal. It was up, it was good, and the score was now tied at 10. So now the Packers would get the ball with 8 minutes left before halftime. They had it on their own 40. They would end up getting a 1st down when Aaron Rodgers hit Randall Cobb for a 19-yard pass on 1st and 15 after a false start. And then on 1st and 10 from the 46, Aaron Rodgers went to Starks. It was incomplete. That would bring up 2nd down. Rodgers then went back to Starks, and it was a 10-yard reception. Starks then ran for a yard, and on 2nd and 9, Rodgers threw an incomplete pass. Green Bay took a timeout, and now on 3rd and 9, Rodgers went to Adams, another incomplete pass. So now the Packers would end up bringing out Mason Crosby to attempt a 53-yard field goal, but it was blocked. So the Bills blocked the field goal. Now they would take over with 6 minutes left before halftime. They had the ball on their own 34. But they would go 3 and out and end up punting it back to the Packers. So now Green Bay would get the ball back on their own 25 with about 4.5 minutes left before halftime, but they would go 3 and out as well, and they would end up punting from their own 11-yard line after moving backwards from penalties. And so now the Buffalo Bills would take over on their own 37 with about 3 minutes on the clock, a little less in the 2nd quarter. And on 2nd and 10 from the 37 out of the shotgun, Kyle Orton was intercepted by Williams. There ended up being a penalty after the play of unnecessary roughness against the Packers. But with less than 3 minutes on the clock, the Packers now had the ball on their own 19. Then on 2nd and 10, Aaron Rodgers hit Eddie Lacy. He picked up 12 yards in the 1st down that brought the ball to the 31. But their drive would stall on the 35, and they would end up punting it back to Buffalo. So now the Bills took over on their own 2-yard line with about a minute and a half left before halftime. And they ended up bringing the first half to a close with 3 straight runs by Fred Jackson. And so now at halftime, the score was still tied up at 10 apiece between the Packers and the Bills. So coming out of the locker rooms at halftime, the Bills would get the ball first, and they'd start off on their own 27. Fred Jackson ran for 10 yards in the 1st down that brought the ball to the 37. Then on 31 from the 46, Dixon picked up 4 yards in the 1st down that brought the ball to the 50. And on 3rd and 2 from the Green Bay 42, Dixon ran for another 4 yards in the 1st down that brought the ball to the 38. Their drive would stall on the 33, and out would come Dan Carpenter to attempt a 51-yard field goal. It was up, it was good, and the Bills now were in the lead with the score 13-10, Buffalo over Green Bay. So now the Packers get the ball with about a little less than 9.5 minutes left in the 3rd. They had it on their own 20, and on 1st down, Aaron Rodgers went to Randall Cobb. He picked up 20 yards to the 1st down at the Green Bay 40. But they ended up stalling and moving backwards, actually. And so now the punting unit would come out to punt from the 39. And so now Buffalo would take over with about 7.5 minutes left in the 3rd. They had it on their own 22. Fred Jackson then ran for 13 yards in the 1st down that brought the ball to the Buffalo 35. And on 3rd and 4 from the 41, Kyle Orton hit Brown, and Brown took it 40 yards for the 1st down all the way to the Green Bay red zone, into the red zone on the Green Bay 19. Their drive would stall on the 17, and out would come Dan Carpenter to extend the lead to 6 with a 35-yard field goal. It was up, it was good, and the score was now Buffalo 16, Green Bay 10. So now the Packers would take over with about 4 minutes, a little over 4 minutes left in the 3rd, with the ball on their own 20. And on 2nd and 7 from the 23, Aaron Rodgers dropped back to pass, and it was intercepted by Rambo. So Rambo he draws first blood. Rambo gets the interception, and now it's Buffalo's ball on the Green Bay 29 with about 3.5 minutes left in the 3rd. They weren't able to get a 1st down, and they would end up punting from the Green Bay 44 as they end up moving backwards with some penalties, and also because of the sack on 3rd and 17 as Orton was dropped by Clay Matthews for an 8-yard loss on 3rd and 17. But so they punted the ball on 4th and 25 from the 44, and now the Packers took over, backed up against their own end zone on their own 2-yard line with about a minute left in the third. They were then faced with a 3rd and 6 from the 6-yard line, and Aaron Rodgers hit the tight end Andrew Corliss for a 7-yard reception and a first down. So that would bring the third quarter to a close with the score Buffalo 16, Green Bay 10. So now to open up the fourth quarter, the Packers trailing by 6 with the ball on their own 13. Then on 3rd and 8 from the 15, Aaron Rodgers hit Jordy Nelson for a 16-yard reception that brought the ball to the 31. Randall Cobb then ran the ball for 12 yards and made a first down to the 43. Then on 2nd and 7 from the 46, Aaron Rodgers threw it to Randall Cobb for a 14-yard reception and a first down that brought the ball across midfield into the Buffalo 40. Then on 3rd and 4 from the 34, Aaron Rodgers out of the shotgun. He was intercepted by Rambo for the second time in this game. Rambo with the interception. And so now that wasn't just first blood, it was second blood. And so now the Buffalo Bills took over on their own 48 with 11 minutes left in this game in regulation. They were then faced on first down. Orton hit Fred Jackson for a 20-yard reception that brought the ball to the 32. And on 3rd and 6 from the 28, Kyle Orton was sacked by Clay Matthews. And so out would come the punting unit as Dan Carpenter came out to attempt a 48-yard field goal. It was up. It was good. And the Buffalo Bills now led by 9 with the score Buffalo 19, Green Bay 10. So now the Packers would take over with a little less than 9.5 minutes left in regulation. They had the ball on their own 18. They were then faced with a 2nd and 14 from the 14, and Aaron Rodgers went to Randall Cobb. He picked up 16 yards in the first down that brought the ball to the 30. Then a face mask penalty on the next play, which was an end around that didn't gain anything, but the face mask would make it a first down on the 45 for the Packers. Then on 2nd and 10 from the 45, Aaron Rodgers hit Jordy Nelson for a 20-yard pass, and it was now a first down on the Buffalo 35. Aaron Rodgers then went to Randall Cobb for a 17-yard reception. It was now a first down in the red zone on the Buffalo 18. Their drive would stall on the 16, and out would come Mason Crosby to attempt a 34-yard field goal. It was up. It was good. The Packers now cut the Buffalo Bills lead to 6 with the score Buffalo 19, Green Bay 13. So now the Bills took over with a 6-point lead with less than 5 minutes on the clock in the fourth and the ball on their own 20. They would then be faced with a 3rd and 4 from the 26. Kyle Orton then hit Scott Chandler for a 12-yard reception, a first down that brought the ball to the 38. Then on 2nd and 2 from the 46, Fred Jackson picked up 2 yards in the first down at the Buffalo 48. Their drive would end up stalling on the Green Bay 47, and out would come the punting unit. And so they would punt the ball, and this game would go to the 2-minute warning. So now the Packers would take over with less than 2 minutes on the clock in the fourth quarter, trailing by 6 points with the score 19-13. And on first down, Aaron Rodgers is sacked by Super Mario Williams. He forced the fumble. It was a crazy play. The ball was bouncing around everywhere, and it wasn't sure if what would be of it. Eddie Lacy grabbed it, they touched him, but it ended up being they jumped on it. For a moment, it looked like it might have been a defensive touchdown, but the ruling on the field ended up being a safety. So they ended up ruling a safety as Roby and Bradham were there to touch Lacy when he got the ball on the end zone before he coughed it up, even though he was down by contact, and it was ruled a safety. And so now the score after the safety was Buffalo 21, Green Bay 13, as the Bills extended their lead to 8 points. And with the safety punt, they would get the ball back. Green Bay didn't have any timeouts left, and so all that was left to do for the Bills was for Kyle Orton to take 3 knees, and the Buffalo Bills beat the Green Bay Packers with the score Buffalo 21, Green Bay 13. And with the win, the Buffalo Bills are now 8-6 on the season. They're 5-3 at home. The Packers are now 10-4. They're 3-4 on the road. And in this game, Kyle Orton was 14 for 27. He had 158 passing yards and an interception. He lost 4 yards off of 3 carries on the ground. Aaron Rodgers was 17 for 42 with 185 passing yards and 2 interceptions. He had 27 yards rushing off of 3 carries. The leading rusher in this game was Eddie Lacy. He had 97 yards off of 15 carries, including a touchdown. He also had 11 receiving yards off of 2 receptions. Fred Jackson was the leading rusher for Buffalo with 71 yards off of 20 carries. He also had 27 yards receiving off of 3 receptions. The leading receiver in the game was Randall Cobb. He had 7 receptions for 96 yards. The leading receiver for Buffalo was actually their running back, Bryce Brown, who had 40 yards off of 1 reception. He also had 20 yards rushing off of 4 carries. Their next leading receiver was Sammy Watkins with 1 reception for 28 yards. So not a lot of offense for Buffalo, but one heck of a lot of defense. And actually on defense, the leading tackler in this game was actually Clinton Dix of the Green Bay Packers. He had 13 tackles. Morgan Burnett had 12 tackles, and Sam Barrington had 10 tackles, all those for the Packers. The leading tackler for Buffalo would end up being Aaron Williams. He had 9 tackles. And Corey Graham, and Nigel Bradham each had 8 tackles. Buffalo Bills only had 1 sack in this game. That was Super Mario. That was that safety when he sacked Rodgers and he fumbled it, and then Eddie Lacy jumped on it and ended up being ruled a fumble, ruled a safety, even though it almost looked like it was going to be a touchdown. It didn't really matter what the points were because they were already ahead that by so much, and the game was over right there. That was the game. But for the Packers, they had 3 sacks. Clay Matthews had 2 sacks in this game. Goin had 1 sack. The Packers had 1 interception. That was Williams, who had their 1 pick, Tremont Williams. And for Buffalo, Bakari Rambo comes up huge in this game. He had 2 interceptions. He also had 2 tackles. And the Buffalo Bills beat the Green Bay Packers. And in this game, I picked the Buffalo Bills to win this one. Usually I don't even necessarily bring that up, except I was called a moron. I was called an idiot. I was told I don't know anything about football because I picked Buffalo to beat the Green Bay Packers. Well, the final score in this game, Buffalo 21, Green Bay 13.